At the same time as all of this is going on, the right, the far right, the anti-Semitic, racist, anti-Enlightenment, anti-Western civilization, might I say anti-American, right, has been dominating the news and has been all the talk and all the conflict on the right. Indeed, the reality is that if I look at my news feed, if I look at Twitter, if I look at everywhere else, the Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson heritage has dominated the discussion out there, and the Heritage Foundation in particular. We've talked about this in a previous show, but it's only gotten worse. I mean, it's hemorrhaging donors, employees are leaving. There is significant debate within the organization. There is unhappiness with leadership. And every time they kind of backtrack and kind of explain themselves, and the reason for all this is the fact that basically the leadership of Heritage has come out basically in overwhelming support and kind of support forever. We are friends forever with Tucker Carlson, no matter what he does, no matter who he platforms, no matter who he supports, no matter how, again, anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-Western civilization he becomes. Heritage will stick with him. And of course, this has been the last 2 weeks, peak. I mean, hopefully it's peak. Hopefully it doesn't go from here. Peak Nick Fuentes Groyper's popularity. The New York Times ran a story during the week that, according to the sources they have in the White House, and among Groyper's, I guess, and I don't know if you want to just say this is the New York Times being hysterical or not. It's hard to tell when the New York Times has a smidgen of truth and when it's just completely crazy. But they are arguing that about 40% of staffers, young staffers in the White House, in this administration, are fans of Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes then went up on his show and said, oh, no, they are way underestimating. It's much more than that. And of course, we saw about 2 weeks before the Nick Fuentes thing, before Nick Fuentes was interviewed by Tucker, we saw the leaked chats by young Republicans. They were Nick Fuentes-like. So the prevalence of racism, anti-women, and anti-Semitism, and again, I will add to that, anti-Western civilization, anti-American, the prevalence of that on the right is truly, I mean, just unbelievably shocking. Just shocking. Over the weekend, well, it wasn't over the weekend because the weekend is now. I'm a little discombobulated in terms of time and where I am and everything, just because of all the flying and the changing of time zones and what day it is and so on. But over the last couple of days, I guess Megyn Kelly has been hosting a interview show live on stage. I'm not sure exactly what the host was, but well attended, hugely attended, and she interviewed Tucker Carlson, and she asked Tucker Carlson, "Why didn't you ask?" A lot of people are saying, "Why did you ask tough questions of Nick Fuentes?" And Tucker got all defensive and basically said, "It's my show. I'll do whatever the hell I want, and if you want to ask Nick Fuentes tough questions, you have a show. You invite Nick Fuentes on and ask him questions." This is not targeted at Megyn Kelly, who's very pro-Tucker and very friendly and very nice to Tucker as part of the whole rights sucking up the Tucker agenda. But this was targeted at whoever might have dared to ask such a question. The next day, she interviewed Ben Shapiro. And look, I have a lot of disagreements with Ben Shapiro, starting with the fact that he is a religious Jew, and I am not, and the fact that he has been willing to give basically to give a thumbs up to much of what Donald Trump does, and I have not. And huge disagreements between us. I mean, massive. And yet, in all of this, in all of what's happening right now, Ben Shapiro, by far, is the most rational of all the commentators out there. He has broken down Nick Fuentes and criticized him, I think, rationally and properly. If you want to see Nick Fuentes videos, if you're not convinced by me saying he's an anti-Semite, I'm not showing Nick Fuentes videos here, but if you want to see, just look up Ben Shapiro's criticism of Nick Fuentes. He's got a montage of Nick Fuentes, going after Jews and so on. So you can get a sense of what Nick Fuentes like. If you need that, not highly recommended. The guy's a real scumbag, really slimy and not particularly aesthetic to watch as he does this. He gives us pretty disgusting vibes to me. So Ben Shapiro's really been a bright light here, and he was with Megyn Kelly. I mean, he was principled. He called evil evil. He went after Candace Owen. He chided Megyn Kelly for not taking a position when being confronted with evil. He went after Tucker Carlson, although he was a little bit too friendly to Tucker. Still willing to forgive Tucker, still willing to work with Tucker if Tucker did these things. God, at some point you just have to give up, Ben. Some of these people are just plain evil, and you just have to walk away. You just have to give up on them. So Ben has done a good job. Ben is in a difficult situation because many of his listeners are probably turning their backs on him. Indeed, I look at what's going on right now with Ben Shapiro, the Nick Fuentes, and then Matt Walsh, basically saying we need everybody in the tent. We need a big old tent to beat the left. We need to invite anybody who wants to be in our tent to beat the left. Matt Walsh, of course, is part of the Daily Wire, which is the company that Ben Shapiro founded. I don't hear much from Michael Knowles about these issues. He's kind of gone quiet, but one suspects he might not be on Ben Shapiro's side. You have to wonder about the future of the Daily Wire. I mean, how does the Daily Wire really survive with Ben Shapiro basically calling out some people on the right evil and having nothing to do with them? He actually canceled or refused to appear on Patrick Ben-David's show because Patrick Ben-David had interviewed Nick Fuentes. I say good for Ben for taking a principled stand against platforming evil. And yet Matt Walsh is calling at the same time, why can't we all get along? Shouldn't we all be in the same big umbrella? Michael Knowles probably agrees with Matt Walsh. I don't know if he's actually made it. I don't know how they stay in the same platform. I mean, a number of people have already left the Daily Wire because of their disagreements, I think, with Ben Shapiro around Israel, around anti-Semitism, and around people like Nick Fuentes. Of course, Candace Owen being the most prominent of them, but she's not the only one. Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles going to leave as well. If Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles leave, is the Daily Wire still the Daily Wire? Is it still sustainable? Is it still doable? Can he make enough money? Can Ben Shapiro make enough money to sustain it by himself? Are the other people in the Daily Wire really be able to fill in the gap if they leave? I doubt it. I mean, as irrational as I think as Ben Shapiro is, he is way too rational for the American right today. He's way, too pro-American, way too pro-Western civilization for the insane, nutty right today. So can he survive? I mean, based on the comments that I got, right? I posted good for Ben to the idea that he didn't appear with Patrick and David. Oh my God. The number of anti-Semites who showed up is just unbelievable. Slamming me, slamming Ben, some of the most really ugly, horrific stuff. And, you know, I'm sure that's just a fraction of all the ones out there. And so it really is hard to see. I mean, I don't know what Ben's numbers are. I mean, I'm sure they're huge, and I'm sure he has a huge following. And I want to believe that there's enough people on the right who are still sane and rational and fairly good that Ben can sustain, can sustain his following. But you know, I'm not. You know, we'll see. We'll see. And again, the Daily Wire is a whole organization, and is that whole organization sustainable if some of the more Christian parts of the channel or the platform leave? Don't know. I don't know. Of course, Jordan Peterson is part of the channel, but Jordan would leave. I think Jordan would be on Ben Shapiro's side. But Jordan is sick. He hasn't taped anything new in a long time. I don't know if and when he's going to get better. I don't think he's bringing much revenue right now for the Daily Wire. I don't know, right? I have no inside information. But I wonder how sustainable the whole thing is. A few other things worth noting, particularly about Tucker. Tucker. A lot of people are saying Tucker's not anti-Semitic. He's just anti-Israel, and he's just asking questions about the support the United States provides to Israel. Well, I mean, that is just a cop-out, because actually analyzing what Tucker says and what he does makes it very clear his positions. For months now, all he talks about are Jews and Israel, as they are genocides, as they are horrific acts of violence all over the world. And as Mamdani gets elected mayor of New York, I mean, Tucker's supposed to be part of this coalition to fight the left, and yet he talks very little about the left. And indeed, in his latest newsletter, Tucker Carlson spent the newsletter defending Mamdani as actually not really anti-Semitic. Mamdani not anti-Semitic, because just like him, he's just attacking Israel and the real problem of the Jews. So I don't think there's any question in terms of Tucker's anti-Semitism. I don't think that's up for really debate once you actually look at the evidence. And it's stunning, the Heritage Foundation sticking with him as part of this coalition to fight the left when Tucker does very little to fight the left. He'd rather, question whether Hitler was as bad as we really think he was, whether Churchill might have been the worst leader in really the evil guy during World War II. He'd much rather ask questions about Israel and the Jews than actually engage in going after the left. So it's curious what it is that Heritage is defending. It's curious to me what it is the right is rallying around. What is really motivating them? What is driving them? And I think from all of this, Heritage is obviously being torn apart right now, because Heritage has what you would consider old line Republicans who are God, what is going on? Right. God, what was I talking about? My mind is still consumed by jet lag, I guess, or handicapped by jet lag. But in Heritage, there's some old line conservatives who are still hanging on to kind of old, generally pro, maybe a little bit of markets, not too much, but a little bit. Pro-American founding fathers. They still mention the founding fathers and maybe Constitution and Declaration. They tend to be not anti-Semitic. They tend to be pro-American and pro-Western civilization, even if they put too much of an emphasis on religion. These are kind of the mainstream, conservatives of the past, kind of miss them. Suddenly, they've discovered that their institution is being run by people who have endless respect for Tucker Carlson of 2025. Not Tucker Carlson of 5 years ago, not even Tucker Carlson of 3 years ago, certainly not Tucker Carlson of 10 years ago, but Tucker Carlson of today. They are being managed by people whose allegiance is to Tucker Carlson, the platformer of Nick Fuentes, who's driven by, both of them are driven by anti-Semitic hatred. I mean, so what's going on here? So I want to step back a little bit so Heritage is being torn apart, and we'll talk about that, as Ann mentions in the super chat. Stephen Moore resigned from Heritage, although I'm a little pissed off at Stephen Moore because when he resigned from Heritage, he didn't say he was resigning from Heritage because of this, which he should have. He should have had the courage to do. He's been at Heritage for a long time. He said he was pursuing other things. It would be nice to take a moral stand, Stephen. I know Stephen Moore. We know each other. Stephen, if I see him, I definitely intend to say something to him. The timing made it clear, but God, it makes such a difference when you actually are willing to use your platform to say, this is why I'm leaving Heritage. It would have been so much clearer and so much more powerful of a statement if that had happened. Several people now have also left Heritage. Indeed, today, was it today or yesterday? Probably yesterday. Yesterday. The Heritage Foundation Chief Advancement Officer, Andy Olivestro, sent out an email to the think tank partners saying, the Heritage Foundation is rooted in principles and policies, not personalities. I guess Tucker Carlson. We will not make the mistake of placing individuals, Tucker Carlson, even friends, Tucker Carlson, above the critical mission of the institution that all of us are entrusted to steward. I think I told you that the Heritage Foundation has this anti-Semitism project that they're doing with partners. Well, basically, they've been kicked out of it, or the partners have left. They do not want to collaborate with Heritage Foundation on this project of anti-Semitism as long as they continue to be apologists for Tucker.